There's a phrase psychologists sometimes use called the geographic cure. It describes the belief that somewhere else is capable of fixing us. Not metaphorically, literally. A different apartment, a different city, a different country, a different life. It's the thought that arrives quietly after a life event usually. A divorce, or a funeral, or another morning waking up feeling like someone else has been living your life for you. It challenges that perhaps the problem isn't who you are, but where you are. If you could just leave, move west, move overseas, start over, then maybe this new landscape could produce a new person. It's an idea so seductive that entire nations have built themselves upon it. America's mythology is one of westward expansion, not simply across geography, but towards reinvention. The frontier wasn't just another place, it was a machine for becoming someone else. Every road movie, every backpacking trip through Europe, every gap year, every story about quitting your job to find yourself depends on the same belief. The cowboy leaves civilization, the outlaw disappears into Mexico, the drifter walks towards another horizon. Every road stretching into the distance carries the same impossible promise. You don't have to be who you were yesterday. One of my favorite authors, Cormac McCarthy, spent much of his career dismantling that promise. His novels are filled with men who travel extraordinary distances through deserts, mountains, and borderlands, believing that movement itself possesses some spiritual quality. But McCarthy's landscapes are never interested in redemption. The desert does not heal people. It does not forgive them. It barely acknowledges they exist. His characters cross hundreds of miles only to discover that they have faithfully transported the one thing they wish to leave behind. Perhaps no medium has inherited this fantasy more completely than video games. Almost every game begins with departure. Leave the village, leave Earth, leave Midgar, leave the vault, leave your home. Unlike novels, games rarely separate movement from growth. Geography is progression. Experience points are measured in miles. Every mountain climbed promises stronger weapons. Every kingdom crossed unlocks another ability. Even failure becomes temporary because another checkpoint awaits over the next hill. We internalize this language almost without noticing. New places don't simply contain different scenery. They contain different versions of us. We expect the next biome to solve problems the previous one couldn't. The next city will finally have the upgrade we've been missing. Games quietly teach one of humanity's oldest fantasies. If you keep moving forward, eventually you'll arrive at someone worth becoming.
That's the way it is.
This place is great, really comfortable.
Michelle!
I'm just gonna get settled in. Time to move on. Get on with my life. Yes, absolutely. Like I said, it was a long time ago. Let it go. Seriously.
Which is why a game like Max Payne 3 feels so strange. Because Max Payne travels farther than almost any protagonist I can think of. And he arrives exactly the same. The original Max Payne is inseparable from New York. Not the real New York, but the mythical one. Snowstorms swallowing alleyways, rain reflecting neon signs, fire escapes stretching towards black skies. The city feels less like architecture than memory. Every hallway carries grief. Every apartment remembers violence. It's noir distilled into a physical space. When Rockstar announced Max Payne 3, many fans thought they had misunderstood the series. Gone was the snow, gone was the darkness, gone were the comic book panels. Instead, there was relentless Brazilian sunlight, luxury apartments, soccer stadiums, bright yellows, and impossible blues. It looked less like noir than an action movie that had forgotten its source. The reality is, I think Rockstar understood Max Payne better than anyone else could have. Because Max Payne 3 asked a question the earlier games never could. What if New York was never the source of Max's misery? What if it was merely the place we first met him? By the beginning of Max Payne 3, Max has already survived enough tragedy to satisfy several lifetimes. His wife is dead. His daughter is dead. His friends are gone. So he leaves. Not just another borough, not another state. Sao Paulo could not be more different from New York. The snow is replaced with unbearable sunlight. The lonely alleyways become crowded streets. English gives way to Portuguese. The game strips away every external explanation for his suffering. Because sadness and noir was never a location. It was never a city. It was Max Payne. Sao Paulo doesn't become New York. It becomes Max Payne. Every room slowly acquires the same emotional architecture. Every nightclub becomes another crime scene. Every penthouse is another mausoleum. Every crowded street is another lonely corridor. There's an extraordinary sadness in that realization, that the game's lavish interiors and overwhelming sunlight isn't optimistic. It exposes that nothing outside of Max ever had the power to save him. Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation begins with two people who have traveled across the world, hoping consciously or not, that the distance itself might produce clarity. Tokyo is overwhelming, yet beautiful. It rearranges their routines, interrupts their habits, and briefly allows them to imagine different versions of themselves. But the film understands something painful. When Bob Harris eventually boards the plane home, he isn't leaving his problems behind. He's bringing them back with him. When Wender's Paris, Texas offers a gentler version of this same idea, Travis emerges from the desert as though he's been erased, walking silently across landscapes so vast it appears capable of swallowing history itself. For a moment, it seems possible that distance has transformed him. But Paris, Texas isn't about becoming someone new. It's about gathering the courage to become accountable for who you already were. Travel doesn't erase his past. It gives him enough distance to finally look at it. Max Payne never reaches that point. He mistakes movement for healing. He mistakes another continent for another life. The tragedy of Max Payne 3 isn't that Sao Paulo fails him. It's that he asks a city to perform a miracle that no city has ever been capable of performing. Therapists hear the phrase constantly, "I just need a fresh start." It's rarely spoken with certainty. Usually it sounds like exhaustion, as though somewhere out there exists an apartment capable of curing loneliness, a city that dissolves addiction, a relationship untouched by previous mistakes. The fantasy survives because it occasionally works just well enough to keep us believing. New jobs really can be healthier. New relationships really can be kinder. Some people genuinely need to leave home in order to survive. But those victories are often mistaken for proof that geography itself possesses healing powers, rather than the choices people finally made after arriving there. Sometimes change is exactly what people need. Environment matters. Distance can save lives. But geography has limits. You still unpack the same suitcase. You still wake up inside the same mind. As a kid, I loved maps, geography in general. I could spend hours looking at the distance between countries, between cities. As I got older, I found comfort in watching people walk around their cities on YouTube, imagining what it would be like to live day to day there. More than once, I found myself scrolling through apartment listings in cities I've never visited. imagining a version of myself that already lived there. I'd picture different coffee shops, different streets to walk, different people who had never known the mistakes I'd already made. I wasn't really looking at apartments. I was looking at alternative lives. There was always a strange confidence to the fantasy. Surely the person waking up in Vancouver, or New York, or somewhere across the ocean would be different from the one waking up here. Maybe he'd write more, drink less, be less afraid. Maybe he'd finally become the version of himself he'd spent years postponing. The fantasy never lasted very long. Ernest Hemingway once dismissed the idea of escaping yourself through travel. In The Sun Also Rises, one character insists Paris hasn't helped him, and another responds, you can't get away from yourself by moving from one place to another. Maybe that's why the final image of Max Payne 3 has always stayed with me. Not because he finally wins, not because the violence ends, but because after crossing an ocean, surviving conspiracies, cartels, corruption, and enough gunfire to depopulate a country, he discovers what Hemingway had already understood. Somewhere else is still somewhere, and wherever you go, you arrive as yourself.